Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Bevington. I am back with a What You Need to Know for the Book Thief, and I'm outdoors today, so excuse all the blowing hair and hopefully you're not getting too much wind noise. So in this week's reading assignment, we actually had you skip a couple of chapters, so I'm briefly going to talk about those while I talk about the two chapters you did read. The first one you skipped was A Girl of Darkness, and basically Death goes and takes us into the future in this chapter and talks about the second book that Liesel stole. It happened 463 days after the first book that she stole, which is the Gravedigger's Handbook. The only thing we really learn is that she's driven by hatred and anger to do this. So she's the girl made of darkness. And we don't really learn like the circumstances yet, but we know it has something to do with Hitler's birthday and Hitler himself when she steals this book. And then we go to the joy of cigarettes, which is what you guys did read. So Hans and Liesel finish the Gravedigger's Handbook, and on Christmas Eve, Liesel gets two new books from Hans and Rosa. Hans had traded his cigarettes to get them for her. So that's the meaning of the title, The Joy of Cigarettes. They get a couple of other, like Hans is able to get a couple of things for Rosa that she wants to, but it ends up being a really happy holiday for them. And it does sort of end by saying that it's not going to last. So we get a little foreshadowing that things are going to get bad. But in the meantime, Liesel is extremely excited. Number one, that they finished the Gravedigger's Handbook, and number two, that she gets two new books to read. The next chapter is one that we skipped, The Town Walker. Rosa is starting to lose washing customers, which is really frustrating. So what she starts to do is send Liesel to deliver and pick up the laundry because she feels like people are less likely to fire her if it's a child delivering the laundry and picking up the laundry. They'll feel more bad about firing Rosa. We haven't really learned why she's starting to lose customers, but the war has begun, so a lot of things are happening. There are shortages of food and supplies and materials, which is why their Christmas was so bleak in the previous chapter. So everyone is suffering from there being a war because all of the provisions from the government are being used for the war. So Liesel starts to help Rosa in this way. And of course, Rosa threatens her to not lose any of the money that she picks up. She also starts to write to her mother, her real mother. She asks them if she can write to her mother, and they're kind of reluctant, but Hans finally says it's okay. However, then she overhears them having a conversation where Rosa is saying, "Why are you letting her do this? Who knows what's happened to her," and things like that. So Liesel suddenly understands that something has happened, and she's confused. She feels like something is wrong, but she's not sure what. And that brings us to the dead letters. So Liesel's been writing to her mother for a while. She sent one letter, but she hasn't heard anything back. She's written, I think, 6 letters in total so far, but only sent one. They're losing more customers for the washing, which is very stressful. They're down to bare bones now. When Liesel turns 11 and has a birthday, they don't have anything to give her to celebrate. And Rosa kind of admonishes Hans because he gave her 2 books at Christmas that maybe he should have held on to one, but Liesel's okay with it. This chapter really illustrates how things are getting rough for the people mulching. Liesel kind of debates on what to do with the letters for her mother. She wants to send them, but they clearly don't have the money, so she decides to take money from the washing money that she picks up to mail her letters. And this results in a pretty severe beating from Rosa. So Liesel has to confess that she took this money to mail the letters. Unfortunately, Rosa's already beaten her after she tells her she took it to mail the letters, so Rosa does apologize to her. We do learn that Liesel doesn't blame Rosa at all. They have a really complicated relationship, but Liesel says it's not really her fault, that both her mother and Rosa are victims of circumstance, which means they're victims of the events that are happening around them. So she doesn't blame Rosa at all or get upset with her. This is where we go back to the chapter that you skipped where he went in the future, because on April 20th, which is Hitler's birthday, Liesel learns that she finally understands that her mother was probably taken away by Hitler, or Hitler's men, police force, because we already know from the beginning that her father was a communist and that was looked down upon. It's very possible that Hitler is responsible for her mother's disappearance and the reason why her mother isn't writing to her. We don't really know anything about what happens to Mom. We just know she's not answering the letters and she's probably, even according to Rosa, probably gone. And this is what builds Liesel's hatred for Hitler so much that she steals her next book. So that's where we kind of are at this point. Um, I apologize that sometimes death jumps forward and back and it's very confusing. I'm hoping these summary videos are helping you guys understand a little bit better. But things are going to start to change dramatically because the war has started and we're starting to see how it's affecting the people. We're also going to start to see how it affects the people that Hitler goes after. So there's a whole other side to the story that we haven't gotten to yet. I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope this helped, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.